Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Bodybuilding Mountain. And today I'm going to answer a question that was asked on Patreon by a guy named Joshua.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mendez.
Yeah, how you doing? Who are you? That's hardly important, but if it matters, you may call me Mr. Joshua.
And Joshua asked about specialization of certain body parts, and is it worth it to concentrate on certain body parts for a period of time while taking time off other body parts, and if that is a relevant way to gain muscle in an area that might be weak or you might need to bring up for bodybuilding reasons or balance or symmetry reasons. And one thing I want to say about this is that I have seen it work for some people. I have seen people specialize in certain body parts, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not on purpose. Sometimes they were just too lazy to train the other body parts, and they end up doing really well or getting a lot of results in that area. Arm wrestlers are a classic example of this. And sometimes you can see this with one of their arms is more developed than the other because they just actually work on that one arm. So at least that's what somebody in the comments said. So I'm just going to take that comment at face value and trust that that actually happens in the arm wrestling world because I'm not really tied into that world, right? But the fact is that if you isolate a body part and train it religiously, frequently, and use all of your metabolic resources for that body part to grow, it only stands to reason that it may have an easier time not overtraining, right? You see this with athletes all the time. You see them when they're in a certain sport, you notice that they specialize in certain movements, but they might not necessarily do a lot of other movements, like such as Tour de France type cyclists and stuff like that. They might not be concentrating on getting their bench press up, right? That might not be what they want to do. They don't want to get any extra upper body mass. They want to just concentrate on their legs and the strength endurance in the legs, so that way they can do what they do and become better at it. So the law of sports specificity, of course, does apply in this case. So if you notice that you're getting good leg development, but your arms are lagging behind or your chest is lagging behind, it does stand to reason to back off on the leg training a little bit and to isolate these other body parts more often or do more volume with that extra time and recovery resources that you have. The funny contradiction about this entire thing is that as natural bodybuilders, we are dependent on stimulating our system as well. So the one thing I will say is that if you are looking to isolate certain areas, don't throw out your overall body movements altogether. That would be my advice. So say you're squatting or doing some sort of leg training 2 to 3 times a week, and you want to concentrate on your arms more. A classic example of body part periodization would be that you just stop training legs altogether for several weeks and just concentrate on the arms. But I would say stay training the legs at least enough to maintain, like say you train them once a week or something, or you put some good weight on your shoulders once a week, because that helps stimulate the endocrine system in your body, which is what us natural bodybuilders need to do. We don't have external sources of hormones, so we need to access our own hormone production through anabolic type exercises like deadlifts or heavy shrugs or heavy squats or bent over rows, heavy bent over rows, things like that. And because these movements include so much of the body, they do have an anabolic burst effect on the body. And I noticed this, like I've talked about this before, like when I squat 4 plates, my body feels totally different after squatting 4 plates. Like the next day, it feels totally different. Even when I train, it feels different when I'm training because of that overall systemic stimulation. So you may want to just concentrate on certain body parts, but you also want to stimulate the system. It's just that you might back off a bit on those heavy body movements, which are also, of course, draining a lot of the recuperation ability out of your body. But I would say not to stop them altogether in most cases. Now, if you want to experiment, I encourage you to experiment and see what happens. I mean, if you just want to give up training certain body parts for 3 weeks or a month or whatever, and then just concentrate on certain ones, that could be a relevant way. And I encourage you to experiment and see if you get results that way, because I have seen that work as well. But if you're noticing it's not working, perhaps you still need to stimulate the overall system with a large movement like the squat, the deadlift, the bent over row or something, just once a week, or maybe much less than usual, or with much less volume than usual, and you may still get the rewards from isolating these muscles or from concentrating more so on these weaker body parts. Look at that. Huh? It's that guy that saw that giant on the mountain, that was me. That guy on TikTok that saw the giant on the mountain, that was me. That was me. I know I don't look that tall, but I'm really tall. There was an explosion back there. I don't know what that was. That was a big explosion. I think that's what they call production value. I didn't set that up, but that just actually happened in the background. Wow. I guess that was me. I was the giant. That was confirmation right there. You got it. So thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. And yes, I am doing a podcast every week on Patreon, so make sure you check that out. The link is in the description. Natural land.